All right, we'll go ahead and get started as some other folks join us. But first, good evening and welcome to another Capital Live event brought to you by Spotlight PA. I'm Christopher Baxter, the Executive Director and Editor-in-Chief of Spotlight PA, and I'm really glad that y'all have joined us tonight. Tonight is extra special for all of us because we get to introduce your team of journalists who will be covering State College and the North Central region of Pennsylvania as part of Spotlight PA's first ever regional bureau. And that's a very important milestone for us, and we hope to talk a bit about that tonight. For those of you who are new to our work and our programming in general, Spotlight PA is an independent, nonpartisan newsroom producing investigative and public service journalism about the state capitol, urgent statewide issues, and now, as we're going to talk about, the most pressing issues from your vital region of the state. Spotlight PA is unique in a few ways. We don't try to write every story or barrage you with every piece of news as it develops. Instead, we provide contextual, deeply reported journalism that gets to the heart of problems, offers solutions, and drives positive change by empowering Pennsylvanians. We also aren't afraid to stand for something. We are nonpartisan. We have no preference for political party. We don't endorse candidates, and we take no position on policy. But we do believe in certain core values, like the importance of transparency in our government or the ethical conduct of our elected officials. We also believe that the more people who are informed and empowered to participate in our democracy, the stronger it will be. Our work is driven by a deep sense of public service, and it's powered by you, our readers and our members. None of our work, this event, our many newsletters, our investigative journalism, our public service initiatives, none of that is possible without your support. And the need for that support is more urgent than ever. A new report just out about a month ago found that the US continues to lose local newsrooms at a rate of 2 per week, which is simply an astounding stat. And when I first read it, I thought there's no way that could be true, but it is. Traditional newspapers, especially those under corporate or unfortunately now hedge fund control, are pulling back, shrinking, and covering less and less ground. Here in Pennsylvania, however, Spotlight PA is writing a new chapter to this story with a bold plan to revitalize local news. The centerpiece of that effort is envisioning a plan to bring more talented reporters, like the team you're going to meet tonight, back to every region of the state. And the State College Regional Bureau is our pilot effort to figure out how to make that happen. If you're already a member of Spotlight PA or you're already supporting this bureau, I want to say a huge thank you. You are among a pioneering group of people making this effort and this new bureau possible. We cannot do this work without you. It's really as simple as that. If you're not yet a member or you're not yet supporting this new bureau, I'd ask that you please consider joining us tonight. With your support, you can power some of the most impactful journalism in Pennsylvania and ensure we can continue to provide it at no cost, because we truly believe that public service journalism, the facts and the truth, are not a commodity to be bought and sold, but something everyone has a right to access. So I'd like to pause here a moment and ask anyone who has the means and is willing to please make a gift now at spotlightpa.org/statecollege. That's spotlightpa.org/statecollege. A few housekeeping items. We are recording today's event to share it with folks who couldn't make it. Thank you to all who have sent questions in advance. If you have not yet asked a question, you can do so using either the chat or the Q&A feature right here in Zoom. If you just look down at the toolbar at the bottom of your screen, you can open up the chat or the Q&A feature, drop in a question, and we'll get to as many of those as possible. We very much want tonight to be a conversation, so we really encourage you to send us those questions. And to get us going here, I want to introduce every member of our team and just give them a minute or two to talk about their experience in journalism and also what drew them to Spotlight PA's State College Regional Bureau. So I'll start with our bureau editor and native of the region, Sarah Raffitz. Good evening, Sarah.
Hi, Chris, and hi, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us tonight. I'm Sarah Raffitz, the bureau editor for the new State College Bureau. I have lived in the State College area my whole life, and I came to journalism in college at Penn State with the Daily Collegian and have worked for the Center Daily Times and State College Magazine before joining Spotlight PA. I was really drawn to Spotlight PA because of its willingness to invest in local journalism, especially in an area that I care so much about and have had a lot of joy in covering over the past 7 or so years of my career.
Uh, I can go next. My name
Yeah,
is
great. Thanks. Go ahead, Ashad.
so I'm Ashad. I am the at Spotlight at Pennsylvania through Report for America, a nationwide service, a service organization that basically sends journalists to newsrooms across the country to cover issues that are underreported on, and to cover regions that are underreported on. And so I will be covering rural affairs. I used to work at the News and Observer in Raleigh, North Carolina. Most recently attended Columbia University, where I studied investigative journalism.
Great, thanks. Min Jian, go ahead.
Thank you, Chris, and hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Min Shen. I am the State College Bureau's local accountability reporter, and I have spent the past 9 years living in the area. First, as a student at Penn State, I earned my bachelor's degrees in journalism at Penn State. And before joining Spotlight, I was a reporter for WPSU for 5 years, covering this region of Central and Northern Pennsylvania. So I am really excited that with the new regional bureau opening up here in town, I get to stick around because I do love this area, and I think this area deserves a lot more service journalism. There's a lot of work to be done, so I'm very excited to be a part of this great effort to bring more investigative, in-depth journalism to this part of Pennsylvania.
Great, thanks, Min. We're really happy to have you as part of the team. And finally, Wyatt Massey, our new investigative reporter assigned to Penn State. Welcome, Wyatt.
Hi, everyone. My name is Wyatt Massey. I'm new to Pennsylvania. I'm living in Bellefonte. I've been here for a little over a month. And my main focus will be covering Penn State University, kind of what's happening inside the school, inside the governance structure of it, as well as the way the university is influencing State College and the area around it.
Awesome, thank you. And real quick, before we move on, I just want to offer a quick thanks to Frank, Jana, and Katie, who have already contributed today in support of this new bureau and this new effort. Big thank you to you. And if you'd like to at any point during our program tonight, you can do so at spotlightpa.org/state college. Sarah, I want to start with you. As we got planning for the bureau underway and continuing now, you've held a number of community listening sessions to better understand what folks want from their news coverage and or what they miss or what they're not getting from their coverage. Could you tell us a little bit about some of the primary questions and concerns that have come up during those conversations?
Absolutely. It's been really exciting to meet with community members and local leaders to talk about our new bureau and how we can contribute to the communities in the region that we cover. A lot of what I've heard from people is that they are really big fans of Spotlight PA and the work that's being done at the statewide level. And they really want to see that kind of attention, in-depth, and comprehensive reporting done on local issues. And so I think what people are eager to see from us is how we put things into context and explain the broader picture. So to really write the definitive pieces of what's happening and why it matters, and to also offer that investigative and accountability journalism that Spotlight is famous for. On issues that matter to their everyday lives, from their children's education to affordable housing, and of course to understanding what's happening at Penn State.
Great, thanks. Min, I'm wondering, you've been reporting in the region for a while. now on this team. Could you talk a little bit about the kind of effort, time, resources it takes to do the kinds of stories that we do at Spotlight PA and that we want to do at this bureau? I think people kind of have a pretty good understanding of day-to-day news, what they see on TV, kind of the typical breaking news story of the day. How is this news different, and what does it take on your part as a reporter to produce it?
Absolutely. I think the main difference is that investigation takes time. And as straightforward as that may sound, in reality, it is a whole different beast to say, comparing daily news reporting with investigative journalism, because I think with investigation, as Sarah mentioned, what we're hoping to do is to provide the broader picture every time. So instead of sharing the latest one piece of movement on a certain issues, what we're hoping to do with this kind of investigative journalism that the Bureau hoping to produce is that it does take a lot of time. We have to find the documents to support a lot of the work that we're reporting on. We have to find the right people to talk with, and getting sources sometimes to open up and talk about difficult issues, sensitive issues, issues that really deeply affect them. And sometimes to be able to include in the reporting how the process of people's lives being impacted by a certain issue, whether it is local government, state government, whatever it is, a piece of legislation, that also takes time. So I think in before I joined Spotlight, I did quite a lot of daily reporting. And when you're doing that, you're always choosing not to spend your time working on longer form stories. And that is a really hard balance to do. And I understand that we have a lot of small local newsrooms who are still hoping to provide the larger picture, but then there's the balance is very hard. So I think what Spotlight is so exciting is the reason that we're coming in hoping to fill in those gaps, in addition to what our local existing news organizations are already doing. We're hoping to provide that occasional bigger picture look at the issue to help people understand things more deeply, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And I think it's important to note that consistent with the overall statewide mission of Spotlight PA, we make all of our work available to everyone at no cost, as I mentioned at the top. We also now have nearly 90 community newsroom partners all across the state that accept our work and can republish it to their communities at no cost. So we work collaboratively. We are partnered with many outlets in State College proper and also in the region who are able to access our work and republish it. That's not only important to make sure as many people as possible are able to read it, but it also provides some value to those local newsrooms and news organizations as they try to make ends meet and generate the support they need to keep the doors open. Wyatt, I'm wondering, if you could talk a little bit about some of the things Min talked about in the first story that you kind of came across covering Penn State with this alleged extortion scheme. There was a question from Frank in the chat. I'm not sure we have an exact answer at this moment for his question, but I was wondering if you could talk about how you approached that story and how that approach was indicative of what we're talking about how Spotlight PA is different.
Yeah, that story happened it began in mid-July. Spotlight PA was one of several news organizations in the region that petitioned the Center County courts to unseal a number of documents related to a potential criminal case involving Penn State students. That's all we really knew at the time that we appealed to the courts to do that. Penn State as a university had asked for those records to remain sealed the entire case. And we were part of an effort to get those unsealed with just redactions to identifying information for the parties involved. And when those records did become unsealed, we kind of went through them. And what we got was 4 separate search warrants related to tech companies, and kind of reading through them, we were able to gather that several student athletes on Penn State's campus had allegedly been extorted into sending sexually explicit photos and videos to someone, and then they continued to extort them with the potential threat of releasing and making public those images that had been shared. So in reading through those search warrants and discussing with some of the editors at Spotlight, we really felt that there was a lot of unanswered questions surrounding that case, specifically because at least one of those students had filmed other students kind of in various states of undress, either naked or partially naked. And that raised pretty serious questions about whether other crimes had been committed during the alleged extortion, how Penn State was handling that case, whether they were looking into it internally, whether people that had been filmed naked had been identified and notified that that had happened. And we just really felt that running a story immediately based off just those documents wouldn't provide the proper context, especially around kind of the people that were caught up in that alleged extortion and were filmed. So we subsequently published an editor's note kind of explaining our decision to hold off on doing a story, and then followed up with several stories kind of trying to get more information from Penn State about how it was handling the case. And that's available now. You can read about the kinds of questions that Penn State was willing to answer related to this alleged extortion, and then the questions they didn't. And then Min also did a really great follow-up, kind of looking at the legal case and putting it into context with how unique it was to kind of ask for an entire case to be sealed, and the types of situations where that happens and doesn't happen. So kind of like taking more time to better understand the context and get more information about what was happening rather than rushing to print is the decision we made.
Great, thanks. Ashad, I'm wondering if you could talk about, why it has the challenge, I think, of building trust around an institution that in some ways is, has a lot of ways to keep information to itself. It's not subject to the public records law largely. On your end, though, you, I think, have the challenge of sort of building trust in areas where trust in media, or there's a lot of skepticism in the media, and issues there have really gone undercovered or poorly covered for quite some time. Can you talk a little bit about how you've been going about, how you'll continue to go about to meet people and build that trust, and kind of explain what you're trying to do with your reporting?
So I think a big thing that I've kind of found so far is that showing up makes a big difference. Once people have a face to once people kind of know who you are, they're more likely to trust you. And I mean, I've tried to travel all around our coverage area, ranging from Jefferson County to Potter, Tioga County, to Union County. I've been as far as Northumberland County. And I mean, I've had some productive conversations with people throughout the region, people on farms, and people on farms, people who work in healthcare. And I think like that is one of the benefits of working in the Spotlight model, where we're not like rushing to publish all the time. As soon as we have a story, we take our time, we build our sources, we try to connect with the people who whose stories we'd like to cover. And
Great, thank you. One question we get a lot is sort of how we choose what to cover. And Min, I'm wondering if you could start and talk a little bit about how do we sort of hear about stories? How do you hear about a story? And then how do you choose kind of what to cover, what to chase down?
Sure. I think stories come to us mostly in two ways. We have a large number of tips coming in. So from readers, like those of you watching, people who know that Spotlight is here and that we welcome tips. We do get a lot of people reaching out, um, sharing with us either their personal experience or things that they know are happening in their community. And we try to we try to run down every tip, and trying to see if there are accountability issues, transparency issue, if there is any kind of ways, fraud, abuse of power, because those are at the core of why we do investigative journalism, is to try to hold people in power, those in power, accountable. So that is, I think, one of the very key standards of a measure that we use to try to decide what kinds of stories that we would like to pursue. And of course, we are always trying to reach out into the communities, try to understand what is happening, at least with my beat with local accountability. I think one key thing is just to try my very best to keep up with the local governments. We have so many different levels of government at work in our region across the state. So that is also something that I am working on, outreaching very hard to find what is really the talk of the town, to cite the name of our newsletter, to find out what are the things that is highly relevant at the time and people are talking about.
Great, thanks. Sarah, I want to turn to you. The Bureau, in addition to the reporting, has a new weekly newsletter called Talk of the Town, which Min nicely teed up for me. And Talk of the Town aims to feature the work of the Bureau, but also it aims to do more and sort of provide a balanced and community-focused coverage for folks. I'm wondering if you could tell people a little bit about some of the thinking and strategy in putting together Talk of the Town and why it is kind of the way it is and what we're hoping to achieve with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk of the Town, our weekly newsletter, is really focused around a few different areas. So we will have original reporting in Talk of the Town, stories that we've come across in our reporting that we think are interesting, that may not rise to the level of a full Spotlight story, but we still want to get out to people, sharing our in-depth and investigative work. And then also making sure that we are sharing about the communities that are in our region, whether that's through community events that are happening, sharing the work of our regional partners who are doing some really great work, and making sure that our readers are aware of the work that they're doing too. And also trying to highlight and celebrate people and organizations, and good things that are happening in the community too. I think it's really important that we have that balance of really amazing journalism and also just being a community resource and a place where people go to for information. Part of what our newsletter has is, the charm of a newspaper that has a community page that just highlights people that are doing really great things in our community. And so that's sort of the approach that we've taken. We really want to have a variety of information for people and to be able to be their one-stop shop for finding local news.
Yeah, I think that part's so important. People just don't have the time necessarily to be checking, the news of every outlet every day. So bringing kind of all the most important news, under one umbrella is a big help. But also, I think just reinforcing that idea of balance. There's so much heavy news hitting us from all directions every day, state, local, national. The stakes feel high. It can be really heavy. And then on top of that, the kind of work we want to do, investigative accountability, public service work. We just have to recognize that we can't just constantly, hit people over the head with hard news. Communities are more diverse and more dynamic than just pointing out individual problems in a vacuum. I think that's what you've been achieving with Talk of the Town really well. Wyatt, I touched earlier on the challenge of covering Penn State. I know in Talk of the Town this week, you wrote a bit about, the importance of primary sources, records, documents, people in the know, the importance of that to investigative reporting. We often say the best investigations begin with a member of the public who sees something wrong or is concerned about something and brings that information forward. Could you talk a little bit about some of the challenges in doing that work with an institution like Penn State, and also how people can get in touch with you if they do want to chat?
Yeah, one of the things that had come up quite a bit in the kind of listening sessions or just talking to people around the area now that I've been here for several weeks is just people wanting more information or a better understanding of how kind of Penn State as a university or as an organization makes its decisions and the kind of influence it has on the region and in the things that are influencing it. I mean, Penn State has a nearly $8 billion budget, but because of kind of a legislative carve out, Penn State and 3 other universities in Pennsylvania are considered state related, meaning that they're not subject to open records laws the way other public universities are. So, for example, I grew up in Wisconsin, so the University of Wisconsin, you could send an open records request and request information about their financials, decisions that are happening with the board of trustees, and other similar things like that. But at Penn State, apart from some very basic financial information and some other kind of more high level 10,000 foot view reports, there's not a lot of insight that you can glean from open records laws because they're not subject to them. So a lot of my job is to kind of build relationships with people in and around the university who have kind of direct knowledge about those decision-making processes, the influences that are happening, and kind of using those to better understand what's happening inside the university, whether that is through primary documents, so like memos, emails, different things like that. And like Chris mentioned, our Talk of the Town newsletter this week, I had written kind of about the ways and the different processes people can take to share information with us. It can be totally confidential. You can share those kind of primary source documents with us, and then like not contact us ever again. Whereas some other times people kind of want to take a more active role in some of the stories that we do. And then we can have a conversation about understanding these documents in context, or they could help us identify other people that would have information and make connections for us. So it's really up to kind of individuals and what they're comfortable with, and we'll always respect that as they're part of our stories.
Absolutely, thank you. Yeah, it's interesting that for so many investigations that you read, once they're published, oftentimes the person or people who ultimately made that work possible, right, who made access to the information possible, or were able to verify because of what they know, the information the reporter was seeking. Whilst a lot of times you will never know who those people are. They're not named in the story. They're not part of the story. They simply worked in the background, but they are so often the ones that make it possible. And I think that, that's just such an important idea to understand, right? That good journalism depends very much on the public and our relationship together. We can't do it in a vacuum, just like we can't exist without the support of the public. The work is also not possible without that great relationship. And I think that's truly kind of what makes it a public service. Jeff P. asked in the chat, pointed out that Pennsylvania has around 8 zillion local governments, give or take. And that sounds like a very tall task in terms of hyper-local coverage, even if we're just talking about a single county, much less a region. obviously we don't have the resources at this point, although we would hope maybe someday to get there, from the region to be able to cover every town meeting, every community very closely. So I'm wondering if maybe we could start with Sarah, and maybe Min or Ashad could chime in after. Without being able to do that, how do we sort of kind of keep tabs and then understand when there's an important enough issue percolating that we should elevate that to let the region know, but also in many cases to let other people in the state know what's going on?
Absolutely. I think it's really important that we are engaged with the communities that we're covering, that we're continually meeting with them, listening to them, and hearing what's happening in their communities, and making sure they know how to reach us if they have something that's important that we should know about. And I think in addition to that, we're also really lucky to have, as Chris mentioned, around 90 local partners around the state who are able to run our stories. And we see potential collaborations with our regional partners as being really important to our work, because there are local reporters who are doing great daily news here, who are out in the community already and talking to people who might have great story ideas and who know of things that really need to be investigated, but they just don't have necessarily the time because of other daily responsibilities. And so we see ourselves as being able to collaborate with other local outlets to give them, our resources, which is our time, because we don't have those daily commitments, to getting some stories out that are really important and that might not otherwise be told. We're really not trying to compete. We really want what's best for our community, and so we think that collaboration is huge and a really important part of what we want to do in the region.
And I'll add to that. It's a great question. So thank you, Jeff. And it's something that Sarah and I and the Bureau talked about a lot. Obviously, we can't get to every public meeting and be outside every township, every county, every borough. But I think even though there are so many diverse issues facing our local governments, I also believe there are a lot of commonalities in the kind of struggles that these kind of local municipalities are experiencing. So one of the hope that I would have is that by producing, for example, one piece of great story, let's say about volunteer firefighters in one town, and doing a really good job about providing a broader picture about any kind of particular issue, maybe it's staffing, maybe it's funding that they're facing. When we publish a good story on that, I think people elsewhere in Pennsylvania can read that and think about their own volunteer firefighters, their own fire department, and try to start thinking about, are there also similar issues, and are there ways that, based on this kind of reporting, if residents, community members are willing, they can start their own conversation in their own communities, and then hopefully they can bring those stories back to us too. So I imagine that there are a lot of stories that we can do that will hopefully serve as kind of springboarding, creating kind of a ripple effect so that people are talking more about those important public issues, and then we can kind of compound our reporting powers that way.
I just wanted to give a shout out to our intern this past summer, Emma Dooling, who kind of put together a database for like all employees in Center County, and finding obviously there were a few gaps because we have there's so many townships and who don't always respond to right to know requests the same way. But I think projects like that kind of make it easier for us to grasp like the different like all the different local employees that kind of work within a particular county. And yeah, I think, well, if we're able to kind of, and that's kind of what we can do at Spotlight PA to kind of establish and have a little bit a better of an idea through databases like the one that Emma compiled, and where we could just kind of where we can like have those lists of names and be able to like Google them or like track down numbers to kind of get in touch and make that first contact if we haven't built the source built with them in the past. So yeah.
Great, thank you. I'm wondering if we could talk a little bit about the best way for someone to engage with the Bureau. So say I'm someone that maybe works in a municipal government, for example. There's something I think is an issue that Spotlight PA should know about or investigate. Maybe I have some information or some documents. When should I kind of think about talking to a reporter, especially if I've never done it, right? It's kind of a daunting thing. I've never talked to a reporter. I work in government. I'm kind of scared, but I'm also, really concerned about what's happening. What should I do? And then what should I sort of expect? What if I make a call, say to Min or Wyatt? What's the process like? What would I expect?
I mean, I guess I can go first. Yeah, so there's a number of ways people can contact us. Our emails are available online, as well as our phone numbers. So people can reach out that way. We also have a way to kind of securely provide documents, as well as if you just want to send like a generic tip and don't know who exactly to direct it for. There is a box on the Spotlight PA website about that. And each reporter kind of has a different approach for talking to potential sources or people that reach out. In my case, I generally would prefer to maybe talk on the phone, or if person's up for it, meet in person if they want to talk about their experiences or kind of walk through any documentation that they would have. In those cases, I generally am very upfront about this is not going to appear in a newspaper tomorrow morning, or it's not going to be online later this afternoon. This is how I think this document or this tip could fit into kind of a larger picture, and being very transparent kind of about the next steps, and understanding that person's kind of level of interest in being involved in the story. Like we talked about earlier, some people want to kind of come along with us and provide more information or make connections. Other people kind of want to share the information that they have and take a step back, and we'll definitely respect that. So it's really having a conversation about what that person's comfortable with, the kind of information that they have, as well as when we sort of go to the reporting process and are looking to publish, being very transparent with them about, okay, this is the information that we have, this is how we plan to use it. This is how it will be presented in what we publish, to make sure that they're okay with it, especially with people who are sharing kind of more sensitive or secure documents, because we definitely don't want to put them at risk if they fear retaliation or identification, because those stories are really important, but it carries kind of a greater risk. So we're always kind of checking in with those people to make sure they're comfortable with how we are going to use and present the information they have trusted us with.
Min or Ashad, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'll add to a point, back to a question that we talked about earlier, Chris. We talked about how we decide what kind of stories to pursue. And I think in deciding on what kind of story to pursue, we are limited by what are the things that we can verify as journalists. So people may come to us with great tips of potentially huge stories that the public deserves to know. But for us as journalists, there are really high standards for us to be able to verify stories. So I think I would encourage anyone who's interested in sharing information with us to consider if they can provide documents, paper trails like Wyatt talked about, but also sometimes it could be human sources, right? Letting us know who are the key players in these issues and who are the people that we should reach out to and try to track down and talk about and get to their first person experience, because I'm reminded that it's always people first. So that is also a hugely important key that I want to share with anyone who's interested in sharing with us, is to tell us who to reach out to. That would be really, really important as well.
And for me, I'm going to be covering a very like rural affairs can be very broad in the sense that I'm covering healthcare, I'm covering education, I'm covering agriculture, I'm covering climate change, so like if you can come to me and we can just have like a simple conversation about like issues that you think are important, places where you think I should look for stories, towns, particular towns that because we're covering like counties across north central Pennsylvania. You can point out towns that are experiencing particular issues, like township police departments that are that are either under resourced or struggling to provide like services for like the people they're supposed to be protecting. So yeah, just pointing me in the right direction where for in terms of like different places, different agencies to look at, that's also very helpful to me.
Great, thank you. And a quick shout out to Jeff for kindly sharing some of the work Spotlight PA has been doing nationally to better collaborate with other nonprofit newsrooms and launching a new statewide news collective, which is a national convening to share our best practices. We're very proud to be at the forefront of that effort. Before I turn to a lighter question, Sarah, I wanted to go back to you and touch on something that came up earlier, but I think it's worth revisiting. You know, the Bureau is about a month old. Reporters are, I think, still getting oriented in some sense on their beats. For folks that are very familiar with Spotlight's work and very passionate about Spotlight's work, and who are very excited about what the Bureau is going to produce, can you talk to folks a little bit just about kind of what what these early months are like and why it can just take a lot of time to get stories underway, get some traction, you know, and really kind of get things rolling?
Absolutely, that's a great question. Yeah, so the Bureau really is only about a month old, and I think we've had some phenomenal work so far, but you know, all of our reporters are brand new. A couple of them just moved from out of state and are still familiarizing themselves with the area. And you know, as Min mentioned earlier, our stories have a very high standard that Spotlight has set, and that we're really excited to produce. But with that comes a lot of time to, you know, pursue stories, to do research, to find sources, and as Wyatt had mentioned, you know, making sure that sources are comfortable every step of the way with their involvement. And so there is a lot of time that goes into producing our stories. And I think, you know, the end result will always prove that they're worth the wait. But we do have just we're a little bit slower than a daily news outlet. So we appreciate people's patience as we get up and running.
Great, thanks. So we have two folks with us here who are very familiar with the region, either were raised here or been here a long time. and we have two folks here who are total newcomers. So I want to hear from the newcomers first. Tell me about a local, just total treasure or gem or a place you found so far that that you really like. And we're talking, it doesn't have to be work related, it doesn't have to be journalism related, just in being in the region, living in the region, enjoying the region. Tell me about something you've found that's been really, really great. I'll start with Wyatt.
Yeah, so I live in Bellefonte. Walking my dog kind of along the riverfront area, and then Bonfato's, the coffee shop, I'm a big fan because it's very walkable from my apartment. And then with my dog, kind of exploring a lot of the state game lands or state forests around. Just really impressed with how many opportunities there are to get out in nature within a short drive that you can do even during the weekday before and after work.
Great, thanks. Ashad?
So I've tried to travel all around our coverage area, but I think I really love Milheim, and I've been out to Inglebean, Inglebean Coffee Shop. I've tried to get to Elk Creek, but it's always booked up. But I recently went out to the Reepersburg, which is home to Mommy's Donuts, which is this charming little Amish baked goods store. Got a really good donut and this fantastic jalapeno cheese bread. Finished the whole loaf in a week. Highly recommend.
Great. I'm going to assume my donuts must have gotten lost in the mail, so I'll talk to you offline about that. All right, now I'm going to challenge Sarah and Min. Since we have on this call, obviously, a lot of folks I think who probably know the region really well. So I'm going to challenge each of you to maybe offer up something about the region that folks may not know that they should check out or do. I'm going to start with Sarah or Min. Go ahead, Min.
That's really tough. So I don't know how much this is a surprise to everyone, but one of the natural beauty gems that I really, really enjoy in our area is the Kinzua Bridge in McKean County near Kane. It's beautiful, it's breathtaking, it's a combination of natural beauty and just human possibilities. They built that bridge some 100 years ago. It was torn down by a tornado, but you can still visit it. It's beautiful and it's great. I would recommend anyone who haven't been there to check it out.
Great, thanks. How about you, Sarah?
Okay, I've got two because now Ashad has me thinking about food. So I'll just give a throw out to Mamie's, which is in Martinsburg. The best cinnamon rolls I've ever had. I get them every Christmas and they come 4 to a paper plate. They're wonderful. And I'll also shout out a place that's really wonderful in our coverage area, which is Cherry Springs State Park, which I'm sure people know about, but if you don't, you should go because it is the darkest sky on this side of the Mississippi. And so you can see just absolutely glorious stars and the Milky Way and shooting stars. I definitely recommend it.
Great, thanks. I've actually been meaning to get there myself, but I haven't had a chance. I'll take note that Sarah has not revealed her favorite camping spots, probably to keep those to herself. But I'm sure maybe with little coaxing, we could find out where they are. I want to close just by giving each of the reporters a chance just to talk about how people can reach out to them and anything in particular that you're interested in hearing about from folks. So Ashad, why don't we start with you?
So you can reach out to me via email or via phone. I'd say email is probably the best way to reach out. But I try to get back to everybody who calls me or texts me as well. So yeah, but I definitely most prefer the email to set up a conversation, then we talk over the phone. But yeah.
Great, thanks. Wyatt?
Yeah, email or phone. You can text me as well. Some people prefer to communicate on an encrypted app like Signal. You can reach out that way. It's the same phone number. Try to get back to people within the same day, but depending on what's going on, you might have to be a little patient, but very accessible.
Great, thanks, Min.
I'll say about the same, and thank you, Yasmin, for dropping our contact information in the chat. You can also always go to our website and find our information. I am responsive to emails, texts, or calls, so I really look forward to talking with anyone who's interested.
Great, and Sarah?
Yeah, absolutely. Email, text, call. We always are looking to hear from our readers, from people who live in the region. If you have suggestions of places that we should be at, local events or anything like that, we are eager to do engagement with the community. And so, your suggestions are always welcome. I'm also happy to meet with people and chat over a cup of coffee. You can probably find me at Good Day Cafe or Cafe Lamont. And so, yeah, we're just really excited to be here, and we really just want to keep talking with people. And so we'll also be doing once a month community listening sessions all around our region, just to be out there talking to people and hearing what's important to them.
Great, wonderful, thank you. Before we close, I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the brass tacks of getting the Bureau up and running. For one, the idea of a Bureau in State College was actually not our idea, but it was the idea of a whole group of residents who were familiar with our work statewide and wanted to find a way to make it possible locally. When they reached out to us, we engaged for about a year in a process of planning for the Bureau, the size, what we should cover, how we should be. And so this is really first and foremost a community-led initiative. So I think that's really important to understand. Number two, I want to thank a whole number of people who have contributed, some quite significantly, to make this Bureau possible. A number of those people have believed in the vision and the importance of the effort before we had hired a single person. Some have supported us since, and we hope many supporters to come. But for those early folks, those founding donors who came in at the beginning, what you see today and what you will continue to see over the next weeks, months, and years is really possible thanks to your support and your vision and understanding why high quality journalism is vital to the strength of our communities and vital to the strength of our democracy. Just some transparency, the Bureau overall the effort for us costs about $450,000 a year, all in for the Bureau that you see here. So our goal over the next few years is hopefully to generate enough local support to sustain this Bureau, and if the community so desires, to even grow it. But also of vital importance is that if we can make this Bureau work here, our wider vision is to then open community and regional bureaus in other parts of the state where the traditional newsrooms continue to shrink and where there's a similar lack of coverage of really vital issues. So not only is this project vital to the health and strength and future of this region, but also it is vital to the future and strength of potentially revitalizing news in other regions. So that's kind of doubly why this project is so important. We're nearing the end of our time together this evening. I want to thank everyone for turning out on a Friday evening. Kudos to you for doing your public service and better understanding the news in your region. Also, for those who have given this evening, I want to give a big thank you. And also I want to encourage those who perhaps were moved by this event or want to get involved to please take a moment and give now at spotlightpa.org/statecollege. Again, that's spotlightpa.org/statecollege. As a special part of the first year launching this Bureau, the Lenfest Institute for Journalism is matching all gifts to the Bureau up to $200,000. So we want to say a big thank you to them as well. Central to the mission of Spotlight PA is ensuring that Pennsylvanians in all corners of the state, regardless of their financial resources, have access to trusted, nonpartisan, fact-based journalism to be informed, equipped, and empowered in everyday life. So as we always say at the end of our events, this conversation really was just the beginning. The future of journalism, indeed the future at large, in our state will depend on our shared commitment to the truth and to a free press. So we invite you to please stay engaged with our team, copy down their contact information. If you lose it, we have it all on our website, spotlightpa.org. And as always, we welcome your suggestions for how we can best serve the community. We are here as a resource to you, and so we want to be as valuable to you as possible. So if there's ways we can do that better, we really encourage the feedback and encourage you to get involved. I want to again thank everyone who has become a member today in support of the Bureau, and otherwise thank Wyatt, Min, Ashad, and Sarah for joining us this evening to tell us a bit more about their work. And otherwise wish everyone a great and happy weekend and to enjoy a bit of a respite from the heat. Have a great evening, everyone.